I'm trying something new today because in today's video, I'm going to go over every jutsu that we see Naruto use in Naruto as well as Naruto Shippuden and Boruto. But before we get into that, guys, trying to hit 1,300 subscribers as well as a minimum of 3,000 watch hours. And if you guys could help me out with that by hitting that subscribe button and sharing this video around, it would be greatly appreciated. So let's be honest, Naruto doesn't really have the widest move pool, but realistically, neither do most of the characters in the Naruto franchise. Most of them focus on their specialities or clan-specific jutsus, so we're going to see a few variations on the same techniques. First of which being the transformation technique. And Naruto uses this technique in a few different ways. He can change his appearance to look like someone else, like when he poses as Kiba in order to confuse him in Akamaru. He can change himself, or more than likely one of his clones, into weapons like giant shuriken or rubble on the ground like he did when he was fighting Pain. He will use the joint transformation technique to transform with another being like he does with Gamabunta when fighting Shikaku, or when he combines with his nine-tailed shadow clones together to fight Sasuke. But arguably one of his most famous uses of this transformation is likely his sexy jutsu. Basically, this is where Naruto changes himself to look like an attractive woman or man. Now, admittingly, this is just for shock and awe and is only good at a distraction against, let's just say, the more perverted characters. But it did almost defeat Kaguya, so it's actually not infallible. After that, Naruto does use the substitution jutsu, where he just switches places with an object to take an attack. Now, though we don't see him do it, I believe he actually uses this with his shadow clones in order to save himself from a lot of attacks, because it's kind of the only thing that really makes sense that no one ever just pinpoints Naruto out of all of his clones. And he actually fought Neji that way, and that's just kind of like a running theory that I have, is that Naruto's substitution includes his shadow clones instead of wood. But speaking of shadow clones, next is the shadow clone jutsu. Now, Naruto is the greatest shadow clone user ever, mostly due to the fact that he has one of the largest chakra pools, so he doesn't feel the effects of splitting his chakra across the clones he makes. And because of this and his own natural creativity, he has some really unique ways he uses this jutsu. Now, like I said previously, he can use them in combination with the transformation jutsu. He uses them to overwhelm opponents with numbers, and he can use them to expedite his training. See, whenever one of his shadow clones are poofed, killed, undone, whatever you want to call it, anything they experience goes back to Naruto, at least mentally and experience-wise. So this enables him to literally cut years off of learning new techniques, like when he was learning Sage Jutsu or creating the Rasen Shuriken. He will also send in clones to attack an opponent so he can learn their attacks and strategies. He will have shadow clones absorb Senjutsu chakra, then deactivate the jutsu, sending him the chakra and reactivating his Sage mode. He also uses the same method for tracking and relaying messages. Also, this doesn't necessarily work this way in the show, but Naruto should have memories of dying like thousands of times. I don't know. Take that for what you will. But speaking of dying, he will use clones to take an attack for him. He can use them to make human rope bridges or whips like he uses on Sasuke. He can also have his clones produce their own tailed beast modes, and also, like I said previously, he can then merge them all together. Finally, he also uses shadow clones in order to create the Rasengan and Rasen Shuriken, sort of a shortcut to perform the jutsu for beginners until they can create one single-handedly. And I think that is all the ways we see Naruto use his shadow clones. I'm sure I missed one. I don't think I did, but if I did, please let me know in the comments down below. But after this, we actually have taijutsu. So here's where I'm going to mention this. Taijutsu, basically hand-to-hand combat in the ninja world, and Naruto is extremely proficient in the standard ninja combat, but he does have a few standout moves. Naruto has the Uzumaki Barrage, where he creates clones as little as 5 and as many as 1,000 to kick an opponent into the air and then strike them back down with kicks or punches. And he has the Leaf Village Secret Finger Jutsu, 100 Years of Death, or 1,000 Years of Death. I don't remember which one it was. Where Naruto basically sneaks up behind an opponent and shoves 2 fingers into their butt with chakra applied so that it actually sends them flying. He can also use a variation of this technique with a kunai and an explosive tag on it like he used on Gaara in his partial one-tail transformation. So now we can move into the summoning jutsus. So this one is probably the most straightforward in its usage. He can use it to summon toads of varying sizes to help him fight, and he fights with them in a few different ways. He will ride on them and let them fight for him. They will go and fight individually, and he can use combination ninjutsu with them, like the transformation jutsu or the wind release toad gun. He can even take this technique a step further and combine it with a fire style jutsu and having the toad using the toad gun drink toad oil to make the wind release toad oil flame bullet. And he can perform this jutsu in reverse, literally called the reverse summoning jutsu, to summon himself or a clone to a specific location like Mount Miyaboku, which will actually lead us very nicely into Sage mode and his Sage jutsu. Now, to quickly run this one down, Naruto is a perfect Toad Sage and can add Senjutsu Chakra or Nature Chakra to all of his jutsus, like his Frog Kata, which is a special type of taijutsu that is better for fighting using the heightened senses and reaction time in Sage mode, as well as he can add this chakra to all of his regular jutsus. But on top of all of that, Sage mode also allows him access to his sensor abilities, which he probably could do not in Sage mode, but we only ever see him do it in Sage mode. But he uses these to find opponents and allies. It also grants him increased strength and reflexes. Now, if you guys have been paying attention, you could probably guess what comes next. I know I jumped the gun a little bit with Sage mode, but it just made sense with the Mount Miyabuko thing. But next is the Rasengan. And I think this particular jutsu kind of warrants its own video, but I'll still give you a quick rundown. The Rasengan is Naruto's ultimate jutsu, and he has quite a few variations on it, but most of them fall into two categories. He either makes it bigger, like the giant Rasengan, or he makes multiple Rasengan, like his double Rasengan, where he holds one in each hand, or he has clones use them for a barrage. Another way he used the Rasengan is by adding a change in chakra nature to it, like the wind release nature chakra, creating the Rasen Shuriken, but he can add any nature or Kekkei Genkai actually to it. That's it for now, but be on the lookout for the Rasengan video if this video does well. So if you want to see me cover all the different forms of the Rasengan, please watch this video. Now after this, Naruto's next big power-up was his various nine-tailed chakra modes and his tailed beast modes. This mode gave him access to the nine-tailed chakra, and it boosts his strength, speed, and his sensor abilities, which is kind of the only reason why I'm including it in the jutsu list, because it kind of gave him access to other skills. But anyway, he can also use this to create chakra arms or to attack enemies, or use them instead of clones to perform his Rasengan and his Rasen Shuriken. Also, through Kurama's cooperation, he can pretty much stay in Sage mode indefinitely, since while inside of Naruto, Kurama doesn't move, thus he can combine Sage mode with his tailed beast mode. Also, side note here, Kurama being able to focus on his chakra instead of fighting might be why we don't see him fully manifest like the other tailed beasts do. If he fully manifested, he wouldn't be able to mold chakra. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. But the newest technique this form gives him is access to the tailed beast bombs, which Naruto uses to either fire at his opponents or combine them with his Rasengan. And I believe we only see him do this once. He can make one that's really small and use it like a Rasengan, and I believe he calls this the Super Mini Tailed Beast Ball. Kind of a predecessor to Boruto, just making the Rasengan smaller. But finally, we've got Naruto's final power-up of the series, which are the techniques he gained from his Sage of Six Paths mode. Basically, Naruto gets Sage of Six Paths Chakra, gets access to a limited number of True Seeker Orbs that he can combine with Jutsus, used to stand on and block attacks. He can also just straight up fly. Once again, his sensor powers come out and are heightened to the point where he can actually sense Limbo clones. He gains the Kekkei Genkai of all the tailed beasts that he can apply to his Rasengan and his Rasen Shuriken. He can heal people by touching them, like when he saves Guy and regrows one of Kakashi's eyeballs. But the big one as far as techniques go here is actually the Six Paths Chibaku Tensei, where along with Sasuke, they can basically create a moon to trap someone in, which is pretty much how they end up beating Kaguya in the end. But that is actually it for Naruto and Naruto Shippuden, and here's where I'm going to go ahead and just move into Boruto, because we actually do see him use a couple of new things in Boruto. The first one being a Earth-style mud wall, which is essentially the only time we actually see Naruto use hand signs to perform a jutsu outside of summoning. We see he learned how to do Earth Style, and he uses it to create walls to essentially block opponents. And he unlocks his final Kurama transformation in Baryon mode, where by clashing his and Kurama's chakras together, he essentially creates energy that will literally shorten the lifespan of anyone who makes contact with it, and it does this by literally destroying their chakra. Now, this does also have the effect of Naruto and Kurama destroying their chakra the longer the mode is activated, and that wasn't the greatest explanation, but in this mode, Naruto pretty much just punches his Shiki, so super exciting, but not a lot to talk about for the purposes of this video. But that's it though. Every type of jutsu that we see Naruto do, and if you want me to deep dive into any of them specifically, other than the Rasengan and maybe Baryon mode, some of the other Nine Tails chakra forms, please let me know in the comment section down below. While you guys are down there, please remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you never miss another video from me, and I will see you guys in the next video.